Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Today, we are unpacking a really foundational concept straight from the BxM 365-day master curriculum. We're specifically targeting Domain A of the BCBA exam, and we are going to completely dissect the three absolute fundamental goals of behavior analysis: description, prediction, and control. Now, the curriculum makes one thing absolutely crystal clear right out of the gate. These three pillars are your bedrock. It explicitly warns that if you confuse these concepts, you are going to miss the most basic foundational questions on your exam. It really is that simple. So we're here to make absolutely sure that doesn't happen to you. By clearly defining these three goals today, we're going to build an analytical foundation so solid, you'll be able to instantly recognize exactly what phase of analysis you're looking at on any test question. Let's get that foundation built right now.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our structured syllabus for today. First up, we'll cover the fundamental goals overall, followed by a deep dive into description, then prediction, then control, and we'll wrap the whole thing up by testing your skills. Section 1. The three fundamental goals and building that crucial foundation.
To truly grasp behavior analysis, the curriculum makes a great point. You cannot look at these three goals as just some random list of vocabulary words to memorize. You really have to understand them as a strict, sequential progression. Each concept, each action you take relies completely on the one that came right before it. You absolutely cannot jump ahead. I want you to visualize these three distinct steps drawn out exactly like a staircase. At the very bottom step, your only goal is answering the question, what happened? This is description. Once you've got a really firm footing there, you step up to the middle step, answering what will happen. That's prediction. And only when you have completely mastered that middle step can you reach the highest step at the very top, make it happen, which is control. This staircase metaphor is just absolutely essential because it reminds us that we can't control a behavior if we haven't predicted it, and there's no way we can predict it if we haven't accurately described it first.
So, the crucial point is that we have to start at the bottom. Section 2, description, which is all about objective recording. Starting at the absolute base level of our staircase, description is purely the what. It is the completely objective observation and recording of events. And honestly, the key word here is objective. You need to act entirely like a security camera capturing a scene. Think about it. A camera doesn't have an opinion, right? A camera doesn't guess people's motives or feelings. It just records exactly what is physically in front of the lens. In this phase, you are simply gathering historical data, completely devoid of any personal interpretation or bias.
So when we say you're acting like a camera, what are you actually recording out there? You are strictly noting the components of the ABC chart: the antecedent, the behavior, and the consequence. You document exactly what happened right before the behavior, what the behavior physically looked like, and exactly what happened immediately after. The curriculum notes a really common trap right here, so listen closely. At this stage, you are absolutely not explaining why it happened. You are drawing no arrows connecting these events. And perhaps even more importantly, you aren't trying to stop the behavior yet. You are literally just observing.
To perfectly summarize this bottom step of our staircase, description equals record. Just keep it that simple in your mind. If you are sitting there just writing down data, making notes of the antecedents and consequences without intervening at all, you are describing. You've successfully conquered the first fundamental goal.
Let's move on and see how this builds, because now we have to make a pretty big mental shift. We're transitioning from item 1, description, where we were just recording historical data as a passive camera, to item 2, prediction. This is where we actually start using that data to actively forecast the future based on correlation. This is where the magic of analysis really begins to take shape.
Section 3. Prediction and Forecasting the Future.
Welcome to the middle step of our staircase, which represents the when. Prediction is achieved when repeated observations reveal a consistent, functional relation. Remember all those ABC notes you just took during the description phase? Well, now you look at them and you start to notice a trend. You start seeing a real correlation. It functions almost like a crystal ball, where your historical data allows you to forecast future events. For example, if you look at your data and see that every single time a specific door is unlocked, the client elopes, well, you now have the power to predict that elopement. You know exactly when it's going to happen.
And this brilliantly illustrates the entire core logic of prediction. Because X happened 10 times before, Y is going to happen again. You have a graph with a clear trend line. But the text issues a familiar warning here. You still are not stopping the behavior. You're only forecasting it based on past trends. You know the client will elope when the door is unlocked. But at this step, you haven't actually done anything to change that fact. Fun fact,
Humans are incredibly predictable creatures. We absolutely thrive on routine, which is exactly why this middle step works so incredibly well. To anchor this middle step in your memory, prediction equals forecast. You are using the power of correlation to see what is coming next. But seeing what is coming isn't the ultimate goal of behavior analysis, is it? It's just the required prerequisite for the final, most important step.
Section 4. Control. Making it happen.
Now we finally ascend to the summit of the staircase, representing the how. Control is defined as the manipulation of an independent variable to produce a reliable change in behavior. This right here is the pinnacle of behavior analysis. This is where true change is enacted. You are no longer just a passive camera, and you are no longer just gazing into a crystal ball. You are an active participant making things happen. For instance, if you take the independent variable, which is essentially your specific intervention or your teaching strategy, and you teach a replacement skill, and because of that specific teaching, an aggressive behavior finally stops, boom, you have achieved control.
So to cement this final step forever, control equals change. You have only truly achieved control when you take action and actually make the change happen. If the behavior doesn't reliably change based on your manipulation, I hate to say it, but you do not have control. It is the absolute ultimate test of your intervention's effectiveness.
Section 5. Testing your skills at the summit.
We've officially completed the staircase climb together. We went from the objective recording of description up to the forecasting of prediction and finally reached the behavioral change of control. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how perfectly it organizes your thinking for the exam. If a scenario involves someone just acting as a camera, you immediately link it to what happened, which is description, and the core action is simply to record. If the scenario involves identifying trends or using correlation, you know the question is what will happen, pointing straight to prediction, where the core action is forecast. And if the scenario describes manipulating an independent variable to alter an outcome, it's all about make it happen. That's control, and the core action is change. By strictly enforcing these boundaries in your mind, you absolutely guarantee that you won't fall for trick questions on your exam. You'll know exactly which pillar you're standing on.
So the ultimate question is, want to put these discrimination skills to the test right now? You've got the theory, you've got the structure, but as we know, application is literally everything. I challenge you to hit the link to the BxM quiz block and see if you can flawlessly distinguish between describing, predicting, and controlling in real-world scenarios. Head on over to BxMeducation.com to unlock the master video explanation and truly secure your mastery over Domain A. But as you do, I want you to leave with this thought. If behavior analysis gives us the literal tools to describe, predict, and ultimately control human behavior, what kind of profound responsibility do we hold once we finally reach the top of that staircase? Keep analyzing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.